Hi, Cindy Pearson, student number EST 004753 for the Australia College Diploma of Life Coaching. This is my practical assessment for Unit 10, Cognitive Behavioural Coaching Techniques. This is my ID, and this is Tina, who's helping me with my role play today.
Hi, I give permission for Cindy to do this interview to help with her studies. Thank you.
Thanks. Hi Tina, how are you since last month when you came here?
Pretty good, although I'm a little bit anxious and frustrated with something that's been developing at work, and I was just wondering if you could maybe help me with that.
Okay, so what seems to be the problem? What's been happening?
Well, the nurse educator's she's on long service leave, and I've been asked to give a few lectures to the staff to stand in. Now, although I'm a professional person and I can handle my job, I find that I feel really anxious and intimidated at standing in front of all the people. I feel that they're actually staring at me and making me very self-conscious. I feel myself flushing, and I find it very hard to sort of deal with the situation.
Okay, so you're having troubles with the public speaking, like getting up in front of an audience, so to speak, and bringing that presentation to them because you've got thoughts of being self-conscious during it. Okay, well, yes, okay, well, I can definitely help you with that. With some of the things that we covered last time, and now with you telling me about this, I have been thinking in between sessions that there's actually an exercise I think that could be very beneficial to you if you want to give it a go. I'll explain what it's about first. See, my coaching style, as I explained a little bit last time to you, is based around cognitive behaviour coaching. And basically what that is cognitive behaviour coaching focuses on the relationships between your emotions, like how you feel in a certain situation, how it makes you think a certain way, and then how you respond after thinking those thoughts. And that will be like how you feel, how you react, behave. As you say, how you feel yourself flushing, you're getting those symptoms as well, the physiological symptoms and signs of distress and anxiety, as you said. So basically, it's really a good practice to be able to identify those processes that are going on so that we can have a little look at these ways of thinking, because it's actually some of the thoughts that you have when you're feeling uncomfortable that create more difficulty with facing that situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you can actually then feel even more anxious, and you might behave differently and not feel like you're performing as well as you'd like to in these speeches, or maybe even avoid it altogether. Avoidance behaviour where you might not want to try to do it at all. So, what I was thinking is this is a very good example of an exercise I've got that you can take with you after today and do some homework if you're happy to do that. I'll explain it to you now, and we'll run through a practice of it now with what you have experienced last week at work, so that you have an idea of how the exercise works, and then I'll get you to keep doing it over the next couple of weeks until you come back to me again, and we'll review it.
Good.
And we'll see how you go. So what it is, it's called a thought diary, and I've actually got you one here at the moment to have a practice with. Now, this is a table, as you can see, and we've got here the date. So it would be, we'll start with last week's date, for example. Say it's just happened today, what you went through last week. So it's a great example to use. So you can put down that date, or today's date, if you're pretending it's today, whatever. Now with this is the situation. So the situation is that you were at work and what you had to do. So I'll get you to fill this out now while I'm actually, you're right? Yeah.
So I'll put in the date. The situation, I was giving an education talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, So that's the first 2 steps, okay? So we just date it, put your situation down, and then the next steps are, this here we record your emotion. So you've already voiced to me how you felt. So what we do though is we first write down, how did you feel? So how did you feel?
Very self-conscious and anxious.
Great. So if you write those down there, and then what we do after that, I'll let you just fill that in.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Then what we do here, if you can see here, it will say how bad was it? And what we do is we scale it from 0 to 10. So 0 being it wasn't that bad and 10 being it was the worst it could possibly be, with how you felt these emotions. So how would you feel on a scale from 0 to 10 with feeling self-conscious?
I'd say about a 6 or 7. So
okay.
I can put down 6 to 7.
Yep. So maybe do a scale for each one, if you can, this just helps you really identify your emotions.
Right.
Okay. Now there would have been, this is the very next step, an automatic thought or a series of automatic thoughts or pictures that went through your mind at the time of this situation. Can you remember what you were thinking at the time? I think you sort of already said that to me a little bit, like they looking at me.
They were just all looking at me, and I thought they were sort of checking out my features, and it made me very self-conscious. Yeah.
Okay, so down
so it was
here,
like they were, sort of looking more than listening.
Okay, so they're looking at me, not listening to me, or something like that.
Yeah.
That's your automatic thought. Looking at me or staring at me. Did you feel like they were judging you in a way?
Oh, definitely.
Or maybe judging?
Yeah, I thought they were sort of noticing the tooth that I've got that protrudes at the front.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, maybe that's something that you could write down too if that worried you, like staring at my tooth or judging me. Or you get the idea, these thoughts definitely were in your mind
it
at
put me
the
off
time.
what I was actually trying to concentrate on,
Okay. So the next step is up here again, once again. How much did you when I say once again, that's a scaling question. As you can see, that's what I mean once again, like before. But the question is, how much did you believe each of these thoughts? So we scale it from 0 to 10. Remember, 0 being you didn't believe it, 10 being that I really believed it. So
I'd say a 7. It was quite strong. My belief,
For all of them?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So you can identify that you did have these negative automatic thoughts.
Definitely.
Now, with the negative thoughts, instead of being helpful, sometimes these can actually make you feel more self-conscious, more anxious, right? So you come back to this emotion, so you can actually start feeling even worse from these thoughts.
That's what was happening.
So what we do in cognitive behaviour coaching is that we teach you a different way of thinking, a more positive, a more helpful way of thinking, by restructuring our thoughts to help us make us feel better about the situation. And then our behaviour will be different. So we won't be as anxious about doing future talks. We won't avoid future talks. Do you know what I mean? Because we will feel a bit better about the situation. So here, in this final column, we've got alternative to automatic thoughts. So the automatic negative thoughts you had here, we're going to create some alternative thoughts here and put it in the table of what you could have thought instead that might have been a bit more rational or a bit more... now that we're actually thinking and reflecting, we can actually put some time into this and think about it. Yeah. So first, we'll answer that. So what's the thought that you could have thought instead of they're looking at me more than listening, they're looking at my tooth, they're judging me? What could you write here instead?
Well, I guess they could just be looking at me, but actually listening to what's coming out of my mouth. Like that's where you're actually talking from. So maybe it was just that's their point of focus.
Okay,
if that makes sense.
So they were attentive. They were looking at me because they were attentive, listening to me, interested in what I had to say.
I haven't sort of thought of it like that.
Do you mean like yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And not so much at me personally, like. So do I write that in too, or?
Yeah, and they were. My just suggestion as well is that that they actually might have been admiring you because of your knowledge. Because I think a positive thought's a good one to have as well. I mean, these are positive and restructuring the thoughts, but it's good to try to look for the positives as well. And then what we do then after that is the next question is, how much do you believe each of these thoughts? So once again, we do a scale from the 0 to 10.
So how much do I believe the thoughts now that I've refocused
That's
on it?
right.
Oh, I'm with you. Right. Well, actually, I'd say 9. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's really good.
Yeah.
So how do you feel with this exercise?
Yeah, well, you can actually look at things in a different perspective when you actually rationalise it, can't you?
Great. Well, I've got some copies here for you to take home today, and you can have a little practice of that as homework in between today and our next session, and we can review them and see how you go with it and whether you've been able to come up with some different ways of thinking and practicing them a little bit. Just trying to teach the brain how to think a little bit differently in these situations to help make you feel a bit better.
Okay, thank you very much for your
That's
patience
okay.
and your time. Thank you.
Great.
I shall see you in a
Thank
fortnight.
So I've now got to answer some self-evaluation questions. Question 1, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being most positive, how did you feel just before being assessed? I would have to say about a 6. 2, what automatic thoughts went through your mind just before being assessed? Can I do this? I hope I have the right idea of what's expected of me for this practical assessment. 3, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 believe with certainty, how much did you believe that thought? Probably about a 5, because a part of me said, don't be silly, you have a good understanding of the material in this unit, you should be fine. Question 4, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being most positive, how did you feel during the assessment? Probably about a 6 again. 5, question 5, what automatic thoughts went through your mind during the assessment? I hope I'm remembering everything. I hope that I do this within the time allocated. So question 6, on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being believed with certainty, how much did you believe that thought? Probably about a 5. Question 7, on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the most positive, how did you feel after the assessment? I felt probably about a 8, actually. Question 8, what automatic thoughts did I have after the assessment? I thought I didn't go too bad, that was okay. And then I thought, oh dear, did I forget anything? Again, doubting myself. So question 9, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much did you believe that thought? For the first thought, I thought probably about an 8. Yeah, I've done quite well, I believed that. But the second thought, I rationalised it in my mind, so it probably would have been about a 4. I didn't believe it that much that I would have forgotten too much. I think I was right. Question 10, what part of the assessment did I feel most comfortable? Probably going through the thought diary, because I felt that I had a good understanding to explain it to Tina. 11, during what part did you feel least comfortable? When I was looking at the time towards probably now, trying to answer these questions honestly in as limited time as possible so that I make my 15 minutes. And question 12, what, if anything, would you do differently next time? Probably try to do it a little bit quicker. That's probably all, because I was on a time constraint. But other than that, I'm not sure. Thank you.